Hey, I'm Rob Gantt with the Goose Creek Gazette and the Berkeley Independent. I'm in Summerville today with my teammate Roger Lee of the Summerville Journal Scene. We're talking some football, and this is our next edition of Football Talk. Before we get started, I want to mention our sponsor, Tony Pope State Farm. Make sure to call Tony Pope State Farm for your car, home, life, and small business insurance. Roger, we're on week 6 of the high school football season, getting down to the nitty-gritty. Some region championships were kind of decided this past week. Some playoff spots were decided. We'll just flip it over to you on Dorchester County side of things and just tell us what's going on.
Well, we've got some interesting games coming up because they played the region first and they know what their playoff seeding is. But, you know, these are still teams they've played year in, year out. So it's going to be interesting to see how those games go.
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, you know, you want to win, but you also don't want to get your starting quarterback, your starting cornerback hurt. You're starting, you know, you don't want to get your starters hurt, and you might want to look at some other kids to get an opportunity to get some playing time, see how they might do in the playoffs. Since, like I said, you know, we've got 2 weeks of the regular season left, and it feels a little bit like the preseason, you know, where you're just trying to get a lot of guys work. I don't know. I mean, look, you played football. You know, I played football. I mean, so as a player, you want to win, right?
Oh yeah, as a player, definitely. I don't think whoever they put out on the field, I don't think that's going to deter them from trying to play their best game. Although, you know, there might be one or two guys who just, you know, don't give it the 100%. But I think for the most part, the players are going to, you know, be there. It's just if
the coaching
you're not going to take a whole lot of risk and you're not going to do anything to put your stars in peril, I wouldn't think.
Well, I saw a great game on Friday. You saw a great game on Friday. Yours was amazing. So just tell us about it, Summerville and Fort Dorchester.
Right. Summerville, Fort Dorchester came down to the last seconds of the game. You know, Fort Dorchester Summerville took a lead early in the third quarter. You know, at one point early in the game, it looked like the Dwayne Wright, the Fort running back, was just going to take over the game. I mean, he was had a lot of success, just marching up and down the field. But then Summerville fought back, had a couple of fumbles that cost Summerville, and Fort took the lead in the fourth quarter. But in the last minutes, Summerville put together a drive. Leroy Simmons had a couple of great catches on the sidelines. There's a question as to whether the ref missed him falling out of bounds or inbounds, but whatever the case be, you know, they caught him inbounds on both. And what I'm getting at is, whether he was or wasn't, they were both spectacular catches.
I gotcha.
That put him in scoring position. Colby Shirey ran in for a touchdown, and then the coaching staff decided to go for two. You know, you got the champ on the ropes. You want to knock them out. You know, why go into overtime? And I think they had a good play call, but it just didn't materialize. They pitched to Kamari Hare, a freshman receiver, on a reverse, and then he pulled up and passed, and they couldn't complete the pass. Or probably people in Summerville would still be talking about that game.
No doubt. Okay, yeah.
A few highlights from the game as far as individuals. You know, Shirey had 111 yards rushing for 3 touchdowns. Also had a 19-yard TD pass. It was in the third quarter. Summerville pulled a fake punt on them, and punter Alex Hundemer threw to Michael Jenkins, and he went like 63 yards or something for the touchdown. That gave Summerville the momentum they needed. So that was nice to see that. Summerville running backs Christian Grant and Terrace Gaddis continue to be a source of yards for them, and the Stags are coming into town this week, 5-1, aren't they?
They're actually 4-1.
4-1.
That's
okay.
correct.
Okay.
If you saw that in the paper, that was on me. I said they were 5-1. They're actually 4-1.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Well, the Stags are 4-1. My bad. All right, go ahead.
Well, coming off a 20-0 shutout over Cane Bay, so what do you think, man? The Stags up for this Green Wave team?
Well, two things. One, I think Berkeley's defense played an exceptional football game against Cane Bay. Got everybody to the ball. You keep a team out of the end zone. That's a big deal. So that tells me they might be playing pretty well on defense right now. Offensively, they didn't have an explosive night, but they did put together enough drives to score enough points to win. Lou Gadsden had about 70 yards rushing, scored on a touchdown. Reggie Campbell had over 30 yards rushing. He had a touchdown. Trey Minor passed for about 140-something yards, sprinkled the ball to his different receivers. As far what I'm looking at here, I think Berkeley is still trying to play its best football game of the year. If you talk to Randy Robinson, he's like, man, we have not put 4 quarters together. So that's what he's looking for this week. Do I think they're up for the challenge? I think they'll be competitive. The question becomes, I believe, how quickly can Summerville come back down to earth after such a tough loss to Fort Dorchester? It's hard to take an emotional loss like that and then come back and you got to play a team like a Berkeley who has some talent, has some tradition, and they're going to roll into your town looking to play their best 4 quarters of the year. They're trying to, they finished runner-up in Region 7. They know they have a playoff game awaiting in 2 weeks. So I don't know. I mean, I think Berkeley's going to be hungry. I think Summerville's certainly would like to, get back some confidence after losing to Fort Dorchester. So I look for a great game. I'm going to roll. Who am I going to roll with? I'm going to flip a coin on this one. I'm going to go with Randy Robinson and the boys, Stags, in a close one.
All right. I'm going to disagree with you, and here's why. I think
because you cover Summerville? Yeah.
No. I think Summerville is just really starting to hit its stride.
Looks like it.
A 1-point loss to what everybody considers to be the best team in the Low Country.
For sure.
I don't think that demoralizes them at all. I think it gives them a little extra pep. And I think that they are just starting to put some things together. Got some guys where they want them, and they just have to not turn the ball over. So I'm going to go with the Green Wave.
Well, okay. We have another of my teams playing one of your teams this week, Goose Creek, coming off. It was a tough loss. Speaking of tough losses,
yeah.
Goose Creek is going over to Ashley Ridge. If you didn't know, Goose Creek was up 21-0 against rival Stratford. I'm there. I'm thinking Goose Creek's about to take this thing and run away with it. And to Stratford's credit, if you ever remember a video game when you were a kid and your life meter is down to next to nothing, and it's blinking at you and it's red, and you can't absorb any more blows from the enemy or you're going to die. Stratford played the whole second half just like that, but they kept bobbing and weaving and living on the edge, and they made all the plays they needed to make to come back and win the game 22-21. Savionne Jones, the safety for the Knights, he had a key strip of a Goose Creek ball carrier inside the red zone to set up a score. He also had an interception to stop another drive. So Goose Creek was up 21-0, and Stratford just kept fighting back. 2 touchdown passes from Josh Davis to Demarius Anderson brought the Knights within 21-20 with 1:13 left. Denny McDaniel, he rolls the dice. He says, I think we're gonna go for this. They handed to Jaden Austin on a little straight dive play and just got just enough oomph to get across the line. Scored the go-ahead points, 22-21. Goose Creek went to work in the sideline. James Levine hauled in about 4 passes. They got in field goal range. The field goal was no good. So Stratford ended up picking up a 22-21 win. They they won the Golden Goose Trophy, which is what Greg Habib, the mayor, put into the rivalry last year. And it was a heck of a game. Like I said, Stratford just was living on the edge the whole second half, but it's testament to the human spirit. If you just keep fighting and keep trying, you might just win.
Might get that fairy tale inning.
Yes, sir, and that's what happened. Okay, I waxed poetic about the Knights. I should have been talking about the Gators. Well, the Gators, obviously it's a tough loss, and the question becomes how quickly can they come back down to earth when they roll over to Ashley Ridge. I think talent-wise, I think Goose Creek definitely has enough talent to beat Ashley Ridge. What kind of mood will the Gators be in when they get there? I think they'll be in a pretty bad mood, actually. Couple of names for Goose Creek in that game. Quarterback Drew Moore, he threw 2 touchdown passes, one to Kion Smith for 35 yards, another to James Levine for 58. And their other touchdown was scored by Demetri Simmons, who went over 250 yards, the running back. Anyway, Goose Creek's rolling over there. They're looking to get back on track after, losing to Stratford. So they'll be hungry, and Ashley Ridge better be ready. Now, I'm rolling with the Gators this week, by the way.
I don't want to roll with the Gators, but it's hard to pick a team with only one win over a region champ. So I guess I'll go with the Gators in that game. But let's talk a little bit about Ashley Ridge, because I think they're another team that's showing signs of improvement.
Looks like it.
They're coming off a 58-18 win over Stahl. So everything seemed to go right for them in that game, but that was their first win of the year. DJ Drayton is a sophomore receiver. He had 3 receptions for 98 yards and a touchdown. Also returned a kickoff 75 yards for a touchdown. So that's a guy that you haven't heard much from this year that might factor in that, moving toward the last few games, which Ashley Ridge, they're not going to qualify for the playoffs, but they did add a game against Conway in that first week of the playoffs. They're going to play on a Thursday night, so that'll be fun for some people who like to watch more than one game a week. Maybe they can catch Ashley Ridge on Thursday night and then go to a playoff game on Friday.
I like that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Let's see. The normal guys stood out. Quarterback Connor Black, running back Troy Grant, a couple of other guys. Defensively, linebacker Caden DeBose had 7 tackles, including 5 solo stops, 3 tackles for a loss. No, 5 tackles for a loss and a sack. Linebacker Malik Hurlback had 5 tackles, including 3 solos. The Gators are coming off that loss, but they're region champs for a reason. They've had a good year. I don't think really I have much to add, other than I think it might be a little bit tighter of a game than people think, because the Swamp Foxes do seem to be kind of putting some things together.
Well, last year when Goose Creek was really good, if you remember, Ashley Ridge actually beat them. It was the first game of the year. Ashley Ridge went on to have actually a terrible season last year, but they were still good enough on that night when they played Goose Creek early in the year. They ended up beating them. So I think some of those Goose Creek players probably remember that, and I think they're going to put the hammer down this Friday. We'll see. But Ashley Ridge beat them last year, so it can be done.
It can be done for sure.
All right. What else you got?
Well, let's see. We got Pinewood Prep is hosting Northwood Academy. The thing that stands out about this game is, both those teams are struggling this year.
That's right.
Pinewood only has 1 win. Northwood Academy, do you know what their record is?
I don't think they won a game.
I think they're still looking for their first win, so that means they're going to be hungry. But against First Baptist last week, Pinewood had a good showing. I mean, people didn't expect them to be in that game at all.
I did not.
I got to admit, I didn't think it was going to be this tight, but I thought it might. I thought they might surprise some people with some scores, but I didn't think it was going to be a 10-point game for sure. But hey, Pinewood, another team, looks like it's making some progress. They lost 37-27 to First Baptist, but Ben Brown, who's been a receiver, stepped in at quarterback, completed 14 passes for 200-plus yards. TJ Wright ran for 170 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. Shane DeRay had an 87-yard kick return for a touchdown. Cameron Carroll led the Panthers defense with 11 tackles, including 1 for loss, 5 unassisted. And Wright had a big night on defense too with 10 tackles. Corley Watson had 9 tackles, including 2.5 for a loss, and he recovered a fumble. So it's nice to have some stats from those guys from that game. We appreciate those being sent to us, so we can mention those guys in our video here.
You've got, I guess, Fort Dorchester's on the road. Is that right?
Yep. Got Fort Dorchester at Wando. That's going to be a long night for Wando. Coach LaPrade was not happy with the 1-point win over Summerville. He didn't think his team played that well. Said he didn't really know why. He said they just didn't seem to, plays they normally make, they just didn't make. And so I imagine it's going to be a long week of practice out at the fort, and they're going to be ready for Wando and looking toward the playoffs and making sure that they're, giving a 100% effort. Not saying they didn't in that game, but the coaching staff's going to make sure that they're looking sharp at Wando. Dwayne Wright had 3 touchdown runs against Summerville. They were able to stop him a little bit in the second half, but the first half it was the Wright show for a while there. Normal people standing out for the Ford offense: Zoltan Osborne, receivers Keith Desisher and O.J. Washington continued to impress. Desisher made a great catch where he was the ball got deflected and he was actually on his way down, falling on his back, and caught the ball inside the 10 to set up one of those scores. Defensively, linebacker Otis Mack had 2 fumble recoveries. Jaden Profit forced one of the fumbles, and that led to a score. Defensive back Jalen Levine had 14 tackles. Lineman Devin Gaddis, Player of the Week candidate, made 12 tackles, including 3 for a loss and a sack. And Jaden Gardner was also big for the Patriots linebackers.
You could have done me a favor and said you were going to go high tech today. You brought your computer. I'm going caveman style over here. Anyway, so I agree with you. Fort Dorchester will probably roll. I also look for Pinewood Prep to beat Northwood Academy. Hopefully you're done because we're getting into the fourth quarter.
We are. I've taken up a lot of the time. Sorry about that, but I wasn't expecting to talk so much about the Summerville Fort game. But then, how can you not when when you look back on it?
Question. I mean, it could be a game of the year type candidate when we do our Prep Sports Awards.
Yep.
Let's see. Berkeley goes over to Summerville. We talked about that one. Goose Creek goes over to Ashley Ridge. We talked about that one. Stratford coming off the emotional win over Goose Creek. They travel over to Stall. I really expect Stratford just to kind of keep on rolling and doing what they do. Josh Davis, the quarterback, will probably have a big game. I know Demarius Anderson will have a big game. Running back Jaden Austin will have a big game. The offensive line for Stratford will have its way on Friday. I look for Stratford to roll on that one. Another game over from Region 7, Cane Bay steps out of the region, actually. They go over to West Ashley. Question here for Cane Bay is, can they get on track offensively after not scoring a point against Berkeley? I think they will. I think this will be a very competitive game. These two teams met twice last year, once in the regular season, once in the playoffs, and both games were really tight and competitive. I look for a really good game right here. If I had to put a finger on a star this week, it would probably be Cane Bay running back Leon Staley. I think he'll have a big game for the Cobras. Hanahan at Phillips Simmons. The Hawks are coming off a 49-13 win over Bishop England. They got down 13-0 right out of the gate, but scored 49 straight points. Art Craig has that offense just motoring right along for the Hawks. Josh Shaw, the junior running back, he went for over 100 yards. Freshman running back Kevon Rivera went for over 100 yards. Jonathan Shelton, the quarterback, he had about 90 yards rushing. I know he passed for over 100 and something. And Hanahan had over 430 yards of total offense. 3 of those passes went to Mason. Was it Mason Brady? I'm going to say Mason Brady. Hopefully I'm right. Mason Brady had a couple of touchdown catches for the Hawks too. So nice game for the Hawks. They finished second in the region. They have a game this week against Phillips Simmons. They got to go all the way out there to out Clements Ferry Road to take on the Phillips Simmons Iron Horses. It's kind of a rivalry for them. It's a new school popped up. They pulled from the Hanahan attendance zone. So this should be a good game. Phillips Simmons actually beat them last year, but I think Hanahan will get it done this year. Rivera and Shaw and Shelton, and the receivers are kind of coming along too. The offensive line is coming along. Should be a good game, but I think Hanahan's going to win. Wright Bowl 1 is slated for Cross High School on Friday. Sean Wright and the Cross football coach and the Timberland football coach Gregory Wright are first cousins. Timberland's going over to Cross. It's a rivalry game. Hasn't been much of a rivalry on the scoreboard for a while. Timberland seems to always win going away. But this year I think Cross, that talent gap is not as wide as it used to be. Look for a great game here. Cross will definitely be amped up trying to win for the first time in the series, win for the first time since 2001. Cross is coming off of a 32-0 win over St. John's. Nice game there for Xavier Gaddis. He had an interception return, and he had a touchdown catch. Caden White accounted for a touchdown. Caleb Wright contributed. Tyleek Green contributed. Just typical Cross. Timberland, Timberland's coming off a loss to Woodland, 25-8. And they won't make the playoffs this year, so they're, right now winning out, it would be what would help them kind of salvage some. Salvage the season, I guess we should say. And one more team on my side playing, St. John's Christian's coming off a 19-12 win over Dorchester Academy. They host Carleton Prep to finish the regular season this Friday. It was typical St. John's Christian. They were fourth quarter they were down, or second half they were down. They came back and scored 2 touchdown passes. The quarterback, Ryan Bookart, he ran one in from about 24 yards, and he passed one in to Corey Moreau to put him over the top. That made it 19-12. St. John's Christian just seems like they love to pull things out in the fourth quarter. That's about the 4th time they've done that this year. Coach Klotz was telling me that his team just seems to be determined to give him a heart attack because it's just the way they play. But they seem to pull it out in the end. This is how they do. They're 8-1 right now. This Carleton Prep game, I would definitely look for St. John's Christian to win here going away. I did not pick a winner in the Timberland Cross game. Man, flip a coin again. I'm gonna go with the Wolves. That defense is pretty good. I think it's going to be one heck of a game, but I'm going to go with Timberland on this one. Cross will fight hard, but Timberland will somehow figure out a way to win the game. That pretty much does it for my side of things here. I do want to mention our sponsor one more time, Tony Pope State Farm. Make sure you call Tony Pope State Farm for car, home, life, and small business insurance. And we want to get our Player of the Week candidates in. Do you remember yours?
I think I do.
You went high tech today. If you don't have them on there.
Well, again, wasn't as prepared as I could have been considering I brought the tech. Devin Gaddis, Fort Dorchester defensive lineman, is one Player of the Week candidate. I mentioned earlier, 12 tackles, 3 for a loss, and a sack. And Ashley Ridge running back Troy Grant. He had like 100 and something rushing yards and had a couple of catches in that game, and he's also a team leader. Those were my 2 Player of the Week candidates, I believe.
All right, Stratford, Player of the Week candidate, safety Savionne Jones. He had a key strip of a ball carrier, and then he had an interception in the end zone. He also made 7 tackles for Stratford to help them in their 22-21 win over Goose Creek. St. John's Christian, we gave it to Player of the Week candidate Ryan Bookart, the quarterback. He had over 200 total yards. He threw 1 touchdown in the fourth quarter, ran for 1 in the fourth quarter to help him wiggle off the hook. And last but not least, from Cross High School, Xavier Gaddis. He had a touchdown catch of 33 yards, and he returned an interception 75 yards for a touchdown in a 32-0 win over St. John's. All those guys are up for our Player of the Week contest. You can go to any of our websites. That's berkeleyIND.com, IRGazette.com, journalscene.com. Cast a vote. Make sure you register, and you'll be entered into a drawing to win $500 gift card. Again, thank you to our sponsor, Tony Pope State Farm. Make sure you call Tony Pope State Farm for your car, home, life, and small business insurance. And we'll see you guys next week.